welcome to Quantum Messages. Thanks for joining the show.
Hi, Annie. Thank you. I'm so honored to be here with you today.
So, Noko and I have done several roundtable discussions on Indigo Angels podcasts. And from those discussions and from my interactions with you, I really feel like you have super grounding and humble energy, and you have a lot of wisdom that to share with everyone. And it really helps me, and I just want to thank you for that. And you've also done extensive grid work with Indigo Angel. And I was wondering if you could tell us more about your story. How did you get involved with the grid work and grid work sessions that you do?
Yeah, absolutely. Where to begin? Well, I think many of us are doing grid work without knowing it, so kind of subconsciously. And I connected the dots on that through my work with Indy. And also, I work for another oracle. Her name is Z. And both of them have really brought this idea of grid work and the teachings and the wisdom around it to the forefront of my consciousness, where I'm able to really tap into the power of grid work and amplify what I'm doing because, knowledge is power. So the more that we understand what we're doing and the more that we have consciousness around it and intention, uh, there's this amplification of what we can get out of it. So, the thing with grid work is I grew up with a mom that was very into Native American culture, and we do have some ancestry through an adoption. So it's unproved ancestry, which I guess we hear a lot about. But needless to say, I grew up with this love for Mother Earth, with this complete respect for creation, for all creatures. And so this life is sacred kind of idea is very deep rooted within me. And, uh, we would work with the earth in ways of just like taking a hike or um, seeing a hawk in the sky and thanking Great Spirit. And so connecting this into, the present day, um, as I started working with Z and Indy, actually Z introduced me to Indy, which I was so thankful for that, and that she was willing to share me in that way with assisting both of them. And there is no affiliation between the two of them. They just, had known each other and knew that Indy needed some help as well administratively. And so it was just such a divine connection. And they both have very different ways of doing grid work. And so I've been able to, come into this place where I can really take, these lessons and this wisdom from both amazing teachers and apply it in the way that it makes the most sense for me. Because I think that's really important when we're learning, that we don't just take things at face value and, you know, go and wait for somebody to tell you the answer. It's more about applying it, in your own way, in your unique way in your life. So yeah, so that's basically, the grid work has been a building as I go, the more that I learn. And it was very interesting to me to realize, wow, I've been doing this. I've already been doing this. I just didn't know there was a name for it.
That's great that you're working for both of them. And later on in my questions for you, I'm curious to hear what the difference is. But for the audience, what is grid work?
Well, for me, I break it down very basic. I am not a cosmic librarian like Indy is. I am, and I think everybody has their own unique pieces to the puzzle for a reason. I see things from a very 3D perspective, and I'm able to kind of translate between the worlds a bit for those. I don't really like the term layman's, but that's what people call it, right? Kind of bringing it down to a place where other people can understand and connect into that information versus just getting activated, right, from the frequencies. So, I think my definition is really healing the land, is really bringing love into the grids. So it's as simple as even a like a health freedom event. I assisted and volunteered for one of my really great friends for this event that we were doing a couple times in Georgia here called Next Steps, a physical event. And it was where we had a lot of speakers, people from the health freedom world, whether they be doctors, scientists, homesteaders. We had a lot of different uh, guides and teachers that would come and speak. And it was like this. Now, they didn't know we were doing grid work. Nobody was talking about grid work there. Okay, I want to make this very clear. This is a very 3D event. But I was shown how we were all connecting this love and this unified energy and frequency into the grids there in Georgia. And we were at actually Lake Lanier, which if you know any history about Lake Lanier, there's a lot of mystery. There's a lot of stories and even documentaries around this area, around this lake, in regards to that there's kind of some racist, where they turn this whole area into a man-made lake. And it used to be the homes of, certain populations of people, and that it wasn't done in a nice way, that it was, and that even there were some people that had passed away, in the lake, so there were these spirits and things. So people always told me when they heard that I was going there, oh my god, don't go there, why are you doing that there, why are you having an event. And every time I would go to this lake, it was so beautiful, it was so pristine, and I never felt that what people were talking about. I never had fear or anything around this. I was really guided to be here doing this work. And so I realized in doing these events, like part of the grid work was that anchoring in that light into those grids that needed some extra assistance. And even though all those people at the event had no idea, maybe didn't even know what the word grid work meant, they were actively participating in it just by coming together and loving each other and being on the grids. These frequencies come down through us. Each of us is like a little divine channel here on this
Mhm.
planet. So, or a transmitter, however you want to see it, goes both ways. We receive and we also give. And so, just like Mother Earth, right? And so, I think, the group, the dynamic of physical boots on the ground, grid work together as a group is so very important. It brings this amplification for us all into that space, into the grids. So yeah, I went a little long-winded there on the definition, but it's really very simple. It can just be you going out onto your property in your own home even, and doing prayer, doing healing, doing meditation, connecting in and giving back. Hugging a tree is a form of grid work, right? Communicating with the animals is a form of grid work. So many of us are using these spiritual gifts already and doing these different activities in our daily life, and maybe not realizing that it is a form of grid work,
Mhm.
or that there's something that is called this, that we're all kind of tied into. And the other part of that is just understanding the grids, the grid lines, the ley lines, and researching, why is it that all the churches, all the jails, all the military bases, everything is seems to be on these certain ley lines or around and connected. And so there is this connection for me specifically with grid work and Indigenous people, because they already knew what they were doing. They were living grid work. They were living harmoniously with Mother Earth, and they were healing her and getting healing from her, and they knew about these different lines without necessarily calling them ley lines. They knew about this. They had sacred spaces, right? They, always utilized mountains as sacred spaces. You see these themes and these patterns. So it's really just a way for us to kind of put it all together and bring the wisdom forward in these times, where people can have a tool and have another way of helping humanity, of helping the collective. So many people feel they have their hands tied, in these moments. Like, what can I do? How can I help? But really, there's so many things you can do, and many of them don't cost money. They just cost your time and your energy and your efforts. So,
Yeah, that's interesting. So what do you think happened? How come you feel like how do you feel people got disconnected from connecting to the ley lines and to Mother Earth, like in history?
mm, that's a great question. I think it really comes down to convenience. I think it really comes down to this, what do you want to say? A human, like materialism and human desire and ego. I think a lot of it is wrapped in there because um, so many are in this mind frame that we're separate, right? There's been some sort of great divide here. There's been, and it feels intentional. It feels like there has been an agenda around that if you start to really tap into it. And so, what was the turning point? It's hard to say because for me, I don't believe more than half of the history that I've been taught. I don't feel like many of us even really know our past and what really happened. And so, even with the stories of the Indigenous, I question a lot of this, what we're told around what happened. And, you know, if the Indigenous are even who we think they are. So, there's so many questions and mysteries around this information that for me, it's hard to pinpoint, that time, but it does feel like there was definitely a split, a divide where humanity was basically like at this choice point of, are we going to continue to live harmoniously with Mother Earth and connected with God, with Great Spirit, or are we going to follow our ego and choose um, maybe what looks easier, maybe what feels better physically, what has the bells and whistles. And that's, I think, how it's a little bit of a trap, because it attracts people into that space of, hey, you don't have to go out and hunt, you don't have to live in the cold, you don't have to, all these things that were really probably a difficult part of life, for those people that were living harmoniously with Earth. I think there were still difficulties. I think there were still things that were um, not necessarily how they would prefer it, right? But that you have to make that choice of like weighing out, and this kind of goes even into some of the topics we've been doing on the roundtable with the AI, because it's like, ooh, this is so convenient and it's bringing in all these, easier ways, and we can not have to put so much time and effort, anymore into these places. And it's really a slippery slope, is what I would say.
Yeah, it concerns me a lot with the whole AI agenda and continuing to, separate from Mother Earth and her consciousness and the natural beauty and harmony of the planet, and just, the amount of resources that it takes to power the AI is like crazy. And so I wonder though sometimes though, because she is conscious, and when we came in here we separated from, we chose to separate and to forget as we came into this third density. And so a lot of us feel disconnected from her, but I wonder, do you think that she's allowing, I mean, she is allowing this to happen.
Mm.
I mean, do you feel that she's allowing, I mean, humanity to, explore this AI and machine path?
Yeah, that's an interesting perspective. I think that, you know, Mother Earth for me is definitely under the same kind of context of this free will, right?
Mhm.
And so I think that, she does kind of have to step back in some ways for humanity to go on this journey. So, yeah, I mean, could she change it all in a heartbeat? Absolutely. She has that power. But I think that because of her role, right, in all of this, and I think there's some understanding of her part of the mission, right? And so, for me, I think that she's kind of along for the ride in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Yeah. I was listening to a podcast yesterday, and you probably know him. His name's Matthias De Stefano. He's
Mm.
a
Oh,
channeler, yeah. And
yeah.
he mentioned something really interesting that I have thought about before, but not in that context. And what he said is that, you know, we need to, like, once we shift our perceptions to like realize and then also embody that we are not separate, we are all one, we are earth itself as one consciousness together with her. Like, we're not separate from her, we are her. Until we get to that point, he felt that it's going to be challenging for us to communicate with higher dimensional beings, because he said that they have this like hive mind, like this kind of, hive bee like type of mentality, where everybody is one together, especially when you get to those higher dimensional realms. And so he, because we communicate, differently, we're communicating in this individuated type of consciousness on this third density planet. And
Mhm.
so until we get to that point where we start embodying that we are earth, all of us are earth,
Mhm.
then he feels, then maybe we can start communicating with them.
Mm.
I thought that was really interesting and a really interesting perception. What do you, from your work, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense, and it actually is a big synchronicity. I just did in one of the gals I work for, we did a live call around egregores, which is very connecting into what you're talking about, this collectiveness, and especially in nature. And yeah, I would definitely say he's probably onto something there with that. I think that it's been really difficult for me to even understand how some humans can be so separate from Earth and not understand that we are of her. Um, and it's really interesting to, witness people that have a complete lack of respect for their own environment and realizing that it equates to a lack of respect for themselves. This all kind of goes into alignment with that. So yeah, I think he's probably pretty on point there with how important it is for us to reconnect with this understanding of oneness and how much we are connected and unified with earth, and how much easier our life could be if we honored that, if we respected that, and yeah, even down to like how good we feel every day and our health, because I don't think a lot of people realize, going out and grounding onto Mother Earth with your bare feet or your hands, you know, how healing that is, how rejuvenating that is for your body. And not only that, but how important it is for Mother Earth to receive our codes, because in order for her to really shift and change, right, she also needs to know from each of us what is required to for this improvement for us to connect further. And so, if only 10% of the people on the earth are actually physically connecting into her, just think about how much more power there could be behind this exchange and behind this unification if that number amped up to 50% of us. You know, and it's interesting because I've found some of the newer generations that are coming in, our future generations, they're coming in with this wisdom already. They're coming in equipped to connect, to be unified with Mother Earth. And so there is this beautiful shift naturally happening with the souls that are that are incarnating in these times. And so it just feels all kind of divine with the journey that we're all on, and learning and growing, with Mother Earth at the same time. So yeah, I think there's a lot there to be explored, and some of the most simple places and areas that we can make changes as humans on an individual level, how powerful that can be for the collective, to respect that. And actually, it's funny. I don't like using the word funny. Let's change that to magical or to synchronistic. Yesterday, I went for a walk. We always go on walks, our family in our neighborhood. And anytime we find a grocery bag, like a plastic grocery bag outside, we pick it up and we pick up trash, as we feel it is a message from Great Spirit that this needs to be done in this moment. And it's funny because a lot of times we'll be walking and be like, oh man, I wish we had a bag to pick up trash. And then like 2 minutes later, the bag shows up. So yesterday we were walking, and very early on our walk, the bag was there before we had even thought about doing that. But I immediately grabbed it, and my son Kingston and I walked around our neighborhood just cleaning up the earth and giving her love. And it's something that simple. It's something that basic, and also thinking about how that affects the rest of the world around you. I'm sure my neighborhood is looking out their window and saying, what is that girl doing with that bag? Why is she picking up stuff off the ground? And so it's really a beautiful thing that we can all kind of inspire and motivate each other, and be a representative for Mother Earth. Be here and show up. And I'm just excited and proud to see these newer generations already wanting to do that, having that instilled in their heart. And it's almost as if the divide, or the break there in the connection had been restored, as if a lot of these children are not receiving, right, the same disconnect, the same poisons and programming and all of these things that many of us have been exposed to and have had to heal from. They're able to come in and have like a really clean slate. And I believe these are the leaders, these are the new earth leaders that are going to be helping to really bring this next level, this new way of living into this dimension, or into whichever dimension we're headed to. So I'm stoked about that. And it's funny, my son is so hardcore. I have to sometimes like tell him to take it down a notch, because he gets angry. Like, he physically will be at the grocery store and he will physically get angry about people using plastic bags. And the depth of his sacred rage around his respect and honor for Mother Earth, gosh, it just makes me such a proud mama. But it also reminds me how important it is to teach our children how to work with those, right? Work with the sacred rage in the proper way, because that could also turn negative. So yeah, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing that we're able to be representatives in this way. I'm just so thankful. And Mother Earth gives us so many blessings. She's so abundant, and what a beautiful place that we get to live and co-create.
Yeah, totally. What do you think about the with those kids that are coming in the younger generation, those souls, and then what do you think happens to them when they're exposed to digital, media and just being online and on the screens? How do you think that affects them?
Yeah, it's a huge issue. I do believe that that is part of the agenda, to keep us disconnected, to launch us into a transhumanism type place. And so, as much as I love a good game of Mario Kart, it's really important to have boundaries around that, and to have understanding around that. And so, part of what I've, really taught my son, he's allowed to go on a screen. I'm not gonna completely pull that rug from under him. I mean, this is the thing about parenting in these times, is really needing to find a balance. And even in just healing in general, finding a balance and not going full bore, hardcore, because it can really, it can bring in shame, it can bring in guilt, it can bring in also regret. And um, there is something to these times with technology and with screens. We're on a screen right now, right? So for me to say, no, you can't be on that screen, and I'm on a screen 10 plus hours a day because of my job and because of all the mission work that I do, it's really hypocritical to me to just act like, no, you can't be on it. But I do think that's where the teachings come in and the boundaries, right? So the screen should never be used as a, hey, like a babysitter. Hey, go sit on this while I take off for the night. Um, it should never be used as this tool, this numbing device. And so, really bringing through, whatever it is for you, you feel is right for your child, because every child is different. Some children really can't do screens. I mean, I've heard from some parents some really horrific stories. So, every person is unique and different. But for my son and for my older son, even, you know, my oldest son didn't have a cell phone. I mean, he was, I think, probably 16 before he had a cell phone. My youngest son, he's not in public school, so he probably won't even get one at 16. So we make choices and put boundaries in place to keep him. What do you want to say? Not going off the deep end with this technology and not being programmed and um, taken over in that way, addicted, because I have seen that, for sure with screens, and even with myself, I find myself sometimes doing that, death scroll or something. I'm like, oh my God, why am I even on here right now? So there's this fine balance, but it's really about the wisdom and the teaching around. Hey, this is not always a safe place. You have to have your guard up. You have to be, as far as not only physically, but on a spiritual level, you have to make sure that you're protected. You have to make sure that you're not getting hooks in you through that screen. And depending on the child's age, they may not be ready for that conversation.
Mhm.
So really also some guidance and guidelines around what they're even allowed to use. Kingston doesn't just randomly go, checking out YouTube videos, and everything is somewhat monitored where, it's all like learning information that he's bringing in, whether it's about nature, or, he has a very strong desire to start a YouTube channel and do this kind of backyard nature nerd where he talks about nature and teaches people about the love and respect of nature. And I think that's really cool. And I want to honor and nourish that for him. Um, but I think that they do need to know, the dangers. They do need to know that there can be manipulation, and that that's not a place to spend your whole day. That's not what life is about, right? And so, as a parent, it's really it's our role, and
Mhm.
not just with technology, with everything, to bring this wisdom, to bring the boundaries and the guidelines, and to sometimes, be the bad cop that has to say, no, you're done. You're not playing anymore, or you're not playing today. You're not going to get on the screen today. So, yeah, I think there's a lot there for parents to work through, but they have to also reflect on their own selves. Us as parents, we have to set the example too, right? Because they
Yeah.
watch us. You can say all you want, but they're watching us.
Yeah, very true. And those are very, very wise words and really good advice for parents maybe struggling or with their child on the screen or just noticing certain behaviors. And yeah, it's definitely a fine balance. And I do agree with you. I think the great balance is yes, having it being able to go on the screen, but then also knowing how to get off and then, like you said, go out in nature and re-ground yourself and take off your shoes and go on a hike, take the dog for a walk, go to the beach. I think doing all those things and just getting sunshine, and hugging the tree and yeah, I just think having that balance is so key, for our kids.
Absolutely. And we're a bit strict around even what he can do, like the games and stuff. I'm not gonna have him playing no war games, killing people and all this stuff. I know that, there's some of that and some level to almost everything that's out there. But we do allow him to, he likes to do the Minecraft stuff. He's in there building. You should see he's creating these beautiful, it's almost like Legos. It's almost like I compare Minecraft to screen Legos, because he just is building worlds and he's using his creativity. And, if they can be doing things on the screen that are positive, that are beneficial, that are helping, their brain in some way, shape, or form, I think that's where we should be steering them with their screen time versus, random things that just don't matter, where
Yeah.
they're just scrolling or killing.
Right. Yeah. No, it's definitely something to consider for parents, and I hope more parents will start reflecting upon their children's screen time, especially coming from a teacher perspective. So, but
Mhm.
thank you.
Mhm.
I wanted to go kind of back around to the grid work. So where have you done grid work? Like, what are the important areas that you've focused on recently?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm sure you've done a lot because this is over many years. But
Mhm.
what are some of your most significant grid work sessions, and what have you noticed from after doing the sessions? Like, how have you noticed changes, like within the environment
Mm.
or within the group that you are working with?
Mm. I love that. Thank you for bringing that in because sometimes we forget to review and celebrate, right? All of the wins and the progress, the things that we actually see coming through after, because we're just always going to the next one, right? And you saw my big smile there because just thinking about all of the places, remotely and physically, just makes me so happy thinking about, the work that we've done there and, the grids being that much more happy as well with that energy and that healing and the opening, the clearing that we do. So let's see, where do I start? Well, before I started doing any physical missions with Indy or with Z, I was working where I grew up in New Hampshire. Grew up at the base of Mount Sunapee and have always been a mountain girl. And I would say a few years back, when I first started learning about grid work and connecting the dots that I was already doing it in my life and I just didn't know it, my sister and my brother were all kind of divinely connected in this way with grid work and with spirituality. And we decided to go up on the mountain. I was right around July 4th, many years ago. And we went up. We didn't really have, because again, I was just learning, I was just opening up to all of this. So we didn't really have like an itinerary or a mission, so to speak, an intention really. But we knew that we were going up and we knew that this was a form of grid work. We were going to go up and, connect into the land and just see what came through. I had some crystals with me that I was guided to bring up there. Actually, one of them was a piece. I had broken a beautiful gold sheen obsidian ankh. I'm a crystal keeper, so I broke one of these pieces, and I was guided to put one piece in my sacred portal in my yard here in Georgia, and I was guided to put one piece up there on the mountain. We call it Portal Mountain now after this mission, and you'll find out why. And so we went up, big long hike, beautiful river, brook coming down the mountain, and I was just visiting. I was up there on vacation to see my family. And so we just were spending family time, connecting, really taking in the land, doing prayer, grounding into the rocks, sitting down and putting our feet in the river, this kind of thing. And at one point, we took a couple photos of, our like selfies together. And we had a really powerful time up there and we came down. We had some animal connections. We saw a deer were speaking to us and turkey, like all these amazing things happened. Just beautiful. Well, like a day later, my sister reaches out to me. She's the one that had her phone and was taking pictures. And she reaches out to me and forwards me this photo and says, "Look at this. Did you take this picture on my phone? I didn't take this picture." And I'm looking at this and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, where did this come from? Nobody took this photo. It was just on her camera." And this photo is literally a portal. Like I can't even explain. I've never seen anything like it. And in that moment, my sister and I both realized that we were working with a portal up there. And so hence the name Portal Mountain. And now, granted, fast forward a little bit, I had no idea that was what I was doing with the crystals. This was not like, oh, put this crystal up there because there's a portal. I didn't know any of that. I had to connect the dots. That's how a lot of this stuff works, depending on where you're at with your consciousness. So I get home, um, I think this was like a year or something later. And I was realizing that I was able to literally connect into Portal Mountain, into that space through my land here in Georgia. Like I started being able to feel like I was there. It was so interesting. It was something I'd never experienced before. And I was kind of laughing about it. I was kind of questioning, how this is. We don't really believe some of this at first. Like, yeah, okay. And then it was just recently, within the past, I want to say 6 months or so. I don't know if you have an iPhone, or iPhones will like take your photos and without you asking, they make these like photo albums, and they'll pop up on your main screen of your phone. So one popped up and uh, it said Goshen, which it's where I live. It's up in that mountain. And it was labeled this and everything. So I was like, what is this? So I play it. And the video has literally, and this is from a totally different day, my sister and I was doing work here, and it was on like a big, I don't know if it was an eclipse. It was one of these big, days that everybody was doing work out here. I forget. But she was on the mountain and doing things, and I was here in my yard doing things. And she had sent me texts, pictures of some of the offerings. She had put some flowers into the river and different things she was doing. And I had taken photos as well, because I had been out doing a ceremony. And this video literally took my video, my photos from that day, and her video and her photos from that day, and put them into this one video and labeled it Goshen, the town. Yeah, the town that I used to live in, where this mountain is. And the bird is just chirping over here, telling me, "Yes, yes, tell them, sister." It's so interesting because I immediately knew in that moment as I saw that, I was like, wow, this is confirmation. And see, this is where we have to kind of have some openness and some understanding that divine messages can come through technology. God, Great Spirit can work through anything. And so it blew me away because it was literally that confirmation that I already knew, that I already felt, that we had connected this space, that we had these portals, in from here up to New Hampshire. And so, yeah, it was kind of one of those mind blowing moments. So that's just one space that I had done some work, obviously here on my land and up there. And that really got me. The more you immerse yourself in these things and you see the syncs, you see the magic, and you receive the rewards from it, the more you want to help, the more you want to, do it. And the more you become conscious and you're able to start to have mindfulness around your intentions when you go out, the more you can realize what you're doing and why. It really empowers the whole mission. So after that, I believe, I'm trying to think what I was doing a lot of remote missions with both Indy and Z in different ways, um, which were always very powerful. I guess I would like to maybe bring that in as far as the remote versus the boots on the ground, because they're both important in their own ways. And I think that they both have value. And I've learned and grown from both. I've seen, synchronicities and proof from both. In fact, there was a mission we did a while back where we were working. I forget where the location was. I think it was either Africa, I want to say, and we were we were collapsing down and rebuking the needle tech. What do you want to, the whatever they're doing over there in Africa for, trying to save the children. And it was the next day that here in the US, a tornado ripped through, I think it was the southern, somewhere here, north of me, and literally took out a whole pharmaceutical manufacturing place. Now,
Wow.
now, we did not okay, again, we did not pray for any type of natural disaster, that's not what we were, but listen, divine God works in mysterious ways, and Mother Earth, this is all connected, right? Father Sky, Mother Earth, Great Spirit, and so, when we saw that, when we witnessed that, it was like, "Ooh, wow," the power behind this, and the great thing about it, and this is how we knew it was God, no one was hurt.
Mm.
Not one person was hurt. It just took out the plant.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. So, just one example, and we've seen many of those. But the physical, I want to talk about the physical because the boots on the ground has really been amazing, inspiring. There's extra power in the physical where we connect with others, where we form community. Power in numbers. You hear that all the time, and it really is true in grid work. And the thing about physical grid work is, you know, we have, some of us have, whether it's through our ancestry, past lifetimes, or just our own, our own selves, our own DNA, we have these um, connection points on the grid, on the grids, on the ley lines, where either there's a certain place that we, can activate more, or, receive more gifts, or do healing, special healing on our lineage. So there are these beautiful points where we can really bring further and deeper intention in, and really see huge physical results. And let's see, I went to Washington D.C. with Indy. That was amazing. It was also a tough one. I think it was the first. I want to say it's the first boots on the ground that I went to, like an event, like a mission, in that way. And of course, Reversal Stargate. So it was a little difficult, a little hard on the body physically. Um, and but I learned so much. I grew so much. Um, I made some really beautiful connections to soul family, and we did see real time things happening with us being there. When we were in front of the White House, for instance, um, they literally like closed down. They literally closed down the area. They did not want us to go up to the fence to the actual White House. Um, so we kept seeing these things happen where we would like do, a part of our itinerary, a clearing, a prayer, and then we'd see a physical change and something happen. And it was interesting because we actually left that space when we were not able to do what we had planned on doing and had to go and do other things. And then that opened it back up so that we could come back. And I actually sang in front of the White House
Wow.
that day, and it was really powerful. Um, so I believe strongly in getting our boots on the ground. I had never been to DC before, and so yeah, it was something that I felt like was divinely ordained for me to be there in that space and do that work with those people. It all just felt very mission oriented. And from there, I had done a couple, actually, I did an event with Z that was pretty mind blowing. We went to Ireland, and I had never left the country before. In fact, I had to get my passport for that one. And so I realized through that whole process, before I even got over there, I was breaking curses in my ancestral lineage about travel, about leaving the country, because
Mhm.
I feared, like I as a child was kind of told, "Ooh, don't ever, don't leave the country. It's not safe." And like I had all of this programming within me of fear around travel, around getting on a plane, around leaving the country and being somewhere else outside of the US. Um, and interestingly, in this same time frame, I went to Ireland, broke that curse, and my sister, who vowed that she would never get on a plane, I'm getting God chills as I share this.
Mhm.
After I got back from Ireland, she got on a plane and came down to visit me in Georgia.
Wow.
Okay.
Amazing.
So
Generational healing.
it's the proof is in the pudding. If you're mindful enough to witness and see and connect the dots, that's the important part. If you're not connecting the dots, you'll just be out here like a, kite in the wind.
Mhm.
But if you are mindful and you realize, wow, look at this, look at what's happening, and I was so excited and so proud, and she was, and her, even like her, I remember her saying like her son was like, wait a minute, you said you were never going on a plane. And now I just found out her son bought her a ticket to go to Ireland, and
Wow.
they're going to Ireland in March.
Wow, that's amazing. So more generational healing will happen because she'll
More
be going
gen-
over there and her son.
and she's always felt a calling. She actually looks very Irish. We have some Irish. We're very much mutts, and each of my siblings, we all look a different kind of part. I got
Mhm.
more of the Native American vibes. So it's very interesting. She got the Irish vibes, and she's been wanting to go over there. So I'm so excited for her. And actually, another interesting parallel that I found is Ireland, parts of Ireland were very reminiscent to my hometown growing up by the mountain. And they're actually very similar on the grid lines, on the ley lines, if you look at where they are, New Hampshire and Ireland. And so I kept feeling these parallels, almost as if I were, like there was a portal there connecting me. The rock walls, the green, the moss, the rivers, the mountains, like it was just, yeah, it was really, really beautiful and interesting to connect these dots. And how it all fell together was, um, when I came back from Ireland, I flew back into Boston and met my husband and my son. They had driven up because there had been a death in the family, so they were going to a celebration of life up there, and the timing worked out. Unfortunately, I missed the celebration of life, but I came and met with them and kind of brought this whole Ireland, New Hampshire like connection, brought these codes back to my whole family, to my lineage, to my grid lines, to my hometown. And I did this beautiful gridwork ceremony behind where we stayed, right near where I grew up on this brook. We lived on Brook Road, and this beautiful brook happened to be right behind where we were staying. And so I brought the family, all the children, my husband, his friend, like people that had never done grid work. We all went down to the river. We had all these offerings from Ireland because some of the offerings that people had brought to Ireland for that mission didn't actually get put out onto the land in Ireland. And I was the one that ended up taking it all. And so it all went to New Hampshire and into this brook. And oh my God, it was just so beautiful. My nephew, he's probably about 14 or so. I've always said he's a medicine man. He's a shaman. We've already had moments together. And uh, he I allowed him to take the oracle cards, and I said, "Here, pull some cards and see what we get for our messages down here. Let's see what comes through. And I was so blown away. The Ireland mission was all about the tree of life.
Mhm.
And the first card he pulled out of a 60 card deck was the tree of life card.
Wow.
You can't
Amazing.
make this, you can't make it up any better, right?
No, that's so amazing.
So it
Wow.
just, yeah, it just continued. And that wasn't it. This is the nuts part. After that, we planned on driving down back home. And on our drive down, we had already planned my son Kingston, who's very tuned in. He's like I said, he's amazing. My other son is amazing too. Both my boys, I'm so blessed, and they're so gifted. He was persistent about the fact that we had to stop at this. I think it's a national park in Virginia. This mountain area, and he was so excited. And I was like, oh, of course, we'll go and, spend a night there on our way down. So we booked it, we did all this, and this was way before I even knew. I got to Ireland, and one of the speakers there, I don't know if you've heard of Rory Duff. He actually talks a lot about grid lines. He actually talks a lot
Mhm.
about grid work, and he's a brilliant, wise elder. And he's from the UK.
Mhm.
uh, he did a whole session speaking about grid work and um, different things around the grid lines and teaching people about this. And I have to show you, I had been guided to purchase this frequency device,
Mhm.
this
Wow.
EMF tachyonic
Cool.
device
Yeah.
uh, for my grid work. And it, I brought it with me. I was guided to do that. Um, so I hear him say something. I look up at his presentation, and he's showing one of these.
Wow.
And I was like, whoa, okay. Okay, it's all coming together. 2 minutes later, he's talking about one of the main dragon nodal points on the grid lines is in Virginia,
Hmm.
in these mountains.
Whoa.
And I immediately was like, what? Wait
Whoa.
a minute.
So, like, you put 2 pieces of the puzzle together after experiencing with your son, right? In Virginia. Wow.
Well, I hadn't even been to Virginia yet. This was
Oh,
before I even got there. So
okay.
I, at that moment, said, whoa, my son knew more than I.
Yeah.
This was not just about going to a national park. My son knew that we had to take these codes from Ireland, drive down. That was all grid work.
Wow.
When you're driving, you're doing
Yeah,
grid work, my loves. If you're
yeah,
praying, meditating, connecting, looking, doing any work there, and even
yeah.
subconsciously, people don't realize, right?
Mhm.
When you get in the car, it's very meditative.
Yeah.
And so our drive down, I connected, okay, the mountain is one of our spots. We have to bring these codes from Ireland with us down all the way home. And another thing that happened on our ride down before we got to Virginia, this is mind blowing. Uh, we got caught in a flash flood driving down through Connecticut. Guess where we got trapped and where we had to stop to go pee?
Where?
Sandy Hook.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Whoa. Okay.
Now,
Yeah.
now I'm feeling it. I'm feeling a lot right here. So I'm just going to give it a minute.
Yeah.
Whew. We all had to go to the bathroom so badly. Now, some people, I don't know if your viewers will know this or even think this is kind of woohoo, but some people pee as a form of grid work. Some
Huh.
people, and I didn't know this until I was in Ireland,
Marking your territory just like the animals, you know?
leaving your DNA, leaving your codes,
Yeah.
Now, no
It's
judgment.
nature
You know,
It's nature
whether
body.
yeah, whether or not that's for you,
Yeah.
but it connected me in. See, I was receiving all this information and wisdom along my path to be able to connect the dots when I was on our mission with my family. So I realized, wow, we all have to go to the bathroom here. Meanwhile, we're in a flash flood where it's a little scary. Like we're going through places that we can't drive the car. It's too deep. We're getting detoured. Um, we were driving by a river that was like overflowing and almost coming into the road. We could see, the houses. We could see the destruction that was happening. And when we got into Sandy Hook, the water was rushing so freaking hard, and this connection between that water rushing and us needing to go use the restroom, right? And it's so interesting how multidimensional all of this is and how it's all so woven together in grid work when you set your intentions, when you're mindful, and when you start to realize, right? And so it was very interesting. We stopped, and the restaurant that we went into this bathroom, and I looked at the wallpaper, and it was black and white zebras with arrows.
Mhm.
And so there was this all these messages coming through for me. There was all this information. And so as a family, we prayed. We worked on this space mindfully as we were here. We realized what we were doing was really important. And when we finally were able to leave that place and get out and get back onto the highway, double rainbow shows up in the sky
Mhm.
that we were driving right through like a portal.
Whoa, amazing. I wonder if you release some of the souls by
I,
playing.
I love that you brought that through. That is one of my main gifts and missions. I am definitely someone that helps souls cross.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely from the double rainbow. That's and it's I mean, it's such important work. Like it's just I just love your stories and how it's such a reminder for all of us that even though we don't think we're doing anything and we might not be consciously aware of it, we are. And like you said, just driving in the car, like the energy like imprints, like, like we don't see our energy bubble. Not well, some of us do, but our little energy bubble. And as we're going, I just see like this like spreading of like the energy as we're like walking or driving in the car and how it's healing all those lines. And
Mm,
yeah, your connection to the mountain point, the mountains, and this connection from, you said, New Hampshire to Ireland. Like, wow, like I never really thought of it like that before. And it's just so powerful that like how everything is so interconnected, like it's one whole, like like going away from like just focusing on parts. And even just like with our whole like medical system, like just focusing on the part and just trying to heal the part, it's not just healing the part, it's healing the whole self, the whole body, the whole being. And so it's just a really really good, amazing story and reminder on that we are doing things. And like you said, having those synchronistic moments and those messages that are coming through from the divine telling you that you're doing the good work, and that Mother Earth is listening to us. And it's really really powerful, and it
mhm.
really motivates me, like, and just it's reminding me too, like, I am doing something, and I am helping, and so I just thank
Absolutely.
you
Oh,
for that story. Yeah.
thank you,
Uh,
Annie.
Yeah, I'm curious, what you were saying there's a difference between Z and Indigo Angel, and that everybody has their own little, like, individuated ways of working with the grids. And um, I'm just wondering what's the difference like, you know?
Mm. Yeah, yeah, I think, just like in our missions and our day to day, everybody has these unique gifts and codes to bring to the table. And, it's so important. That's why it is so important for people to not feel like, oh, everybody's already doing that and we don't need another person doing that. No, but you're doing it in your own unique way. And not everybody relates to that other person or those other people that are doing it. So, um, I would say the main differences between their grid work is Z comes from a very like an oracle singing kind of space. So she uses her voice, and she more kind of leads a group where the group may be doing things, but it's more, how do I say it? It's not as individualized where when I'm doing a mission with Indy, we each kind of like it's more interactive, I would say. It's more um, utilizing the maps and an itinerary, and it's a very different experience, um, where I believe people that are maybe wanting to learn more about how this works, how to be a facilitator of grid work, how to get more into a leadership role, how to activate your gifts, and those kind of things. There's a lot of enrichment and nourishment around the individual, as far as what are you bringing to the table, opening up that space for someone to do light language, to say, hey, I just pulled this card, this matches, this is synchronistic, to channel, um, to connect in their own individual way. Where with Z, it's much more where she's kind of leading, and then the group is, you may be doing your own individual things, but it's very much more contained within yourself, if that makes sense. I want to be very clear that one is not better than the other, and that I don't even necessarily prefer one over the other. It's actually really nice to experience both. It's really beautiful to see the different ways that grid work can work, and it really is inspiring to me, as someone that is facilitating, that wants to do this, to see these different facets of it and to experience it from these different ways, because you're receiving different gifts, different activations, different wisdom. And, each teacher, each guide, each leader is bringing something different to the table in that way. And so, where some people may, I'm not really at that level that I want my to be into it that way, that I want to, you know, share, something like that. Whereas some people really are just wanting to come in and like receive healing. Some people are at a place in their lives, or maybe just at that time, like someone like me, I like both. So if I can go in and, go on my own journey, and it's very, peaceful and healing, and, it's almost more like what I would call like an oracle, ceremony, or like a healing space where everybody's healing and doing this work together. And then it's, dipping into the grids with that and clearing the grids with that. And Z is also great with, using commands and things like that, just like with Indy, as far as doing the clearings and prayer and whatnot. But I think for me, one or the other just wouldn't be enough. Like I really like experiencing both, and I really enjoy, with Indy's grid work, the development, the learning and the growth that I've had in my gifts, in my ability to feel empowered and confident in my gifts. Because when we get together like that on a mission, whether it's remote or boots on the ground, and we're receiving these confirmations, and we're hearing from other people the synchronicities, like even when we were on, that round table the other night, and seeing the things come in from the people in the chat, connecting with what you were bringing in, it's what we need as humans to feel empowered, to feel confident, to be willing to grow more and share more. And so I think it's an important part as well, for people to get involved in that way. And I'd say really both of their offerings are places you're going to learn, places you're going to heal, places you're going to get activated, and also places that you're going to connect with soul family. So there's so many opportunities there, and really they're both places for the brand new beginner grid worker, all the way up to the advanced grid worker. It's because they're so open and supportive, and this is why I've been working with both of them for a couple of years now. This is why I've lasted that long, and that I continue to do this work, because they are in alignment, to my soul and my mission. They both are working on their mastery while realizing they're still students, while having humble, to be accountable, to, not be up on a pedestal. Because a lot of people want to put them up on a pedestal, and look at them like they're, something different than us.
Mhm.
And it's just not the case, and I love that they are down to earth enough to showcase that, because people need to see that. Not all leaders are doing that, unfortunately. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, there's we're going into another time where we need to tap into our authentic self and our powers, individuated powers, and not give ourselves away to like a guru, or like you said, someone who's in a powerful position. And so, yeah, I feel like if we really tap into our authentic selves, then we can remember our power, and then we can bring so much more to the table, you know,
Mhm.
or to the mission
Exactly.
or whatever you're
Mhm.
doing.
Yeah.
What will be your next Gridwork session?
Yeah, actually, oh my. Well, and I have to say, I didn't mention one of my favorite places I went, which was Kauai. Oh
Oh, I
my
bet.
goddess. Kauai blew my mind. My husband came with me. We
Oh,
had our little honeymoon after almost 20 years of being together. We finally had this, celebration, just us without any children. And I healed a lot of past life trauma there. I went up in a helicopter with my husband and did a tour, and I was super scared about doing it. And it literally healed a past lifetime of mine that I was in the military. And the sound of the chopper actually triggered me into this healing space. I was crying. I was experiencing flying for the first time without fear, with connection to God, feeling like I was literally in God's arms. And it made me realize why I also maybe had a little fear of flying before.
yeah.
So, whew, that trip,
Gosh.
amazing. If you haven't been to Kauai, people, get out there. It's beautiful. So, where are we going? We are going to be in Charleston, South Carolina in April,
Mhm.
which is very exciting. We also may have another trip, another event coming up after that. Maybe headed over your way. We'll see. Maybe headed West Coast.
Yeah.
And then Z actually has a couple of great events coming up. She's going to be in Portugal, and also potentially in Scotland. These have both been mentioned. So uh, whether or not I'll be at all of these is just a matter of time and figuring out, what the needs are. And I'm excited either way about all of them. I know the power behind these trips, and some of the feedback that I hear from other people, and the kind of activations and growth and transformation that they're finding. You can really go on these missions and set your intention and get what you want. It's really that simple. Um, and then we also have a remote mission coming up, and that's tomorrow. The 28th, is it? Yeah.
Mhm. Yep.
Yeah, tomorrow we're going to be doing a remote mission. It's actually one that I was um, inspired to host for Indy. Indy is always open to allowing her Gridwork students and facilitators to host a mission on her platform, for practice, for support. We'd love to help others if they need help with building their itinerary or questions around, leading and facilitating. So yeah, so this will be my, I think, second one that I've hosted for Indie. I went on a healing journey recently, kind of unexpectedly got the inspiration behind what I needed to do for this mission, and it's going to be amazing. We're actually working with this rainbow crystal technology and very strong connections into the Lemurian timelines, working on the oceans, working on the womb waters, and islands, and I think I'm feeling a very strong pull to India as well.
Mm.
So we're going to be having some fun tomorrow with that one.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. That sounds
Mm.
really great. Yeah, I think I'm going to sign up for that one. I haven't yet, but you guys reminded me on the roundtable to sign up, so I think I'm going to sign up for it after
Ah,
we get off.
We'd
So,
love to have you. Yay.
yeah. I was just wondering, what message do you want to give to humanity in
Mm,
this moment in time?
wow. Whew, my goddess. In this moment in time, I believe humanity needs to embrace a little bit of discipline. I believe humanity needs to connect back into Mother Earth and find more harmony and balance with her, with their life. And I believe that the discipline part is so important, the willpower and the willingness to show up in ways that may be difficult in these times. I think many of us have gotten a little too comfortable, um, maybe have taken some shortcuts, maybe have um, been utilizing some things that could be uh, hindering us, right? Things that maybe we needed for a very long time to numb us or keep us feeling from connecting into some of the healing and the past, trauma and things that are there. And I think in these times we're really being called to kind of shed our skin a bit and allow for this new version of ourself, this alignment with our higher self. And so, my message for humanity would be really to get right with your higher self, get right with Great Spirit, get right with Mother Earth. And it's much simpler than it sounds. You don't have to spend money doing any of those things. um, it's really just being willing to show up. It's being willing to sacrifice in a lot of ways, of letting go of some of these things. I think for this particular year, 2025, I think it's going to be really powerful as we see people shedding away these parts that are no longer needed. And we're going to see more people aligning into this higher version of their self so that they can really make the best choices for their highest timelines. That's my prayer right now.
Wow, that's powerful. Yeah, especially since we're going into the Chinese New Year in 2 days and the snake, so it's perfect shedding time.
This is what I'm talking about, where, you can't make this stuff up any better than God does,
Yeah,
because there's a divine plan and there's a reason why we all, have these threads woven through that connect and create this beautiful, space and this environment that we get to live in. It's wow, creation magic. It really gets me going.
yeah, it's exciting. It makes you feel good, and makes you feel like you're doing something.
Yeah, well, and if we don't prioritize what's actually important, it's really easy to forget what's important. It's really easy to get off track. And when you sit down, maybe this is a daily thing, maybe this is a weekly thing, whatever works for you. But I think we're being called to really align those priorities and make sure that we're putting our focus and our energy in the proper nests or buckets, that that we're um, letting go of things that don't really matter, that aren't really for us.
Mhm.
And that can be scary sometimes, the unknown.
But it's huge growth, and even though it's scary, once you go beyond the fear, you really grow, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what's important, right? What's most important to us tomorrow? Do we really care about this, a new iPhone, or, a fancy dress, or any of these things? No, we care about our family. We care about our health. We care about our land, our world. And
Yeah.
so the more that we can really, tap into those spaces that are important to us, and put our energy and our focus there, that's where we're going to see the true change and transformation.
Yeah, very wise words. Thank you. Uh,
Mhm.
where can we find the work that you're doing?
Yeah, thank you. Because I've been really kind of guided to show up and start shining my light brighter. So I've had a crystal shop, a little sacred shop online on my Instagram for a couple years, And trying to balance entrepreneurship and still working for other people has been quite a challenge for me. Um, but one of my main focuses is self-love and self-care, and that's really what my shop is kind of built around, and a lot of what my offerings are built around, because I've had to learn how to do that in my life. The women in my ancestry did not teach me that. They taught me the opposite. I love them so much, but and it wasn't by choice, for them. I'm sure this is a lineage thing. And so that's been one of my callings and my missions to really bring forward. So people can find me. I have an Instagram shop. It's at Noco's Tribe. And I also have a regular Instagram page where I'm a musician. I do hip hop, conscious hip hop, and sound healing and things like this, frequency worker. So uh, they can find me on Instagram as well at Nokomis, Nokomis 77. That's the long version of my Native American name.
Mhm.
And I'm on YouTube, Noco's Tribe. I'm on several other platforms, but not very readily. It's just a lot to keep up with. But I do have a new website. It's nocostribe.com. And I have started putting my items on there, crystals, self-care tools, and I'm also offering now new sessions, which I should really call it services and not sessions or offerings, because I'm not doing any like live Zoom one-on-one sessions at this time. But I do have a fantastic energetic reading, where I send you a video link of your reading, and it's very customized to the person and what's guided to come through. I've done a couple of those so far. They've been mind blowing. I'm so proud of the feedback I've been receiving, and the confirmations around my gifts and what I'm doing here, bringing these messages through for people and activating, inspiring them, bringing sound healing to them. And then the other two services are frequency related. So one of them is like an intentional kind of blessings and prayer session where I have a scalar plasma projector,
Oh, cool.
okay, which is using both the Tesla technology as well as, so the coil is actually in here,
Wow.
as well as the scalar. Uh, And so I can actually use that on photos. I use that tool when I'm doing grid work. I set up big crystal grids and I will utilize the frequencies to really bring love into the grids, into the land. I've used it on people's photos of pets and had great confirmation of their healing, of a switch. As soon as I start working on them, all of a sudden they're eating again. So I've been blown away myself with this, because at first I was like, wait a minute, I can use this on a photo. I don't know. But it's real. I am just really, really excited about this technology. I'm also an affiliate. So I have, links and things that people can purchase their own tools and resources. I showed earlier my tachyon device. That's my newest one I've been working with. And so the other service I offer is basically building, just like I would for a gridwork mission, whether it's for a person or an intention or a piece of their land. We could really do it for anything, but as long as there's proper consent, of course.
Mhm.
And I would divinely guided, build a crystal grid, which would also include a lot of things from nature. Maybe, I actually have like a whole spiritual room downstairs where I have things that have been gifted to me. I get a lot of feathers. I'm a feather girl. And it's been many years of that. So, I have feathers, I have, butterflies that I found that had passed away and wanted to come with me. And so I utilize many different things on the grid based on what I'm guided to do. Maybe photos. For instance, when I was doing grid work in Ireland, and I was called to bring in, certain photos of certain places, a bay or a building, a museum, things like that. And then I just every day for a week, I go and I work that grid with the frequency devices.
Mm.
And this one is really cool because I can pretty much play just about any, sound healing type of rife frequencies. I can do everything from, chakra balancing to acupuncture. I mean, this is
Wow.
amazing. And I'm an affiliate for this one too. So those are my services right now. I'm expanding as I go because I did recently do a project where I uh, curated crystals for a friend that was doing a gridwork mission on her sacred land and
Mhm.
getting ready to grid her property. And so we worked together through Zoom. I curated and sent her a big giant box of crystals that we were guided to and we worked together on. And I even created a map for her with her property, with where all the crystals will be placed. And I'm super excited for her to, yeah, get those crystals out. It's a little cold over there now. I think she's going to bury some of them. So, but the timing is always divine, you know, for the way things happen. And I really am hopeful, and I foresee that becoming a service
Mhm.
very soon with, you know, kind of a bigger project of people's grid work, people's missions and sacred properties and lands that they want to have a little help, extra assistance with, you know, setting up. So,
Wow, well, that sounds so amazing, Noko. And I just want to say, I'm so grateful for you, and thank you so much for all of your work and your humbleness and your warm and giving and loving energy, divine feminine energy, and you're doing really good work. And I just want to thank
mm,
you
thank
and
you
your
so
family.
much. Thank you so, so much. Yeah, my family is definitely that was my intention when I went to Ireland. I met a family there that was like a grid working family. And it just blew my mind to see that. And I was so excited about it. The husband, the wife, and the daughter. Shout outs, you guys, White Swan, I love you all. Um, and it just, I was like, man, I want that in my life. And I went home and I got it. And it just, yeah, I'm still so grateful, you know, to have that, to be able to do that work together. It's very empowering, you know. So thank you. And thank you for bringing up the divine feminine because people may not realize this about me. I was so stuck in my masculine for a huge part of my life.
Mhm.
And I would call it a toxic masculinity, to be quite honest. And I'm still working through some of these balances, but I have to say, when I first started exploring that, the magic, the intuition, the things that were outside of the 3D world in my logic brain, it was a really hard thing for me to move through, and I had to let go. I had to, you know, go through so much shedding and healing and growth and transformation, to be at the place I am today where you can actually witness that and appreciate that about me. So,
Mhm.
like, I'm getting a little emotional because thank you.
Yeah. Oh, well, definitely. And I'm so happy that and I love seeing all of us do the work. And I really feel that, we're coming together in this sisterhood, you know, sis-
Absolutely.
sisterhood of divine feminine women, and really bringing in that energy and to help the earth and help heal each other. And I think it's super powerful. So thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And lastly, I didn't say this earlier about, you know, to humanity, but my slogan is self-care equals healthcare. So do something kind for yourself. So that will remain a very strong foundation for everything that I do, you know, reminding people to love self, to take care of self, and understanding that our own self-love is actually God's love. And the more that we can relate that and understand how worthy we are, you know, in Great Spirit's eyes, then we can start to understand, you know, the power that we truly have here as individuals.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Noko.
Thank you, Ani. This has been amazing. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, one love.